Alright, it is now 5 o'clock, which means you are now listening to BingeWorthy Radio. We are back this spring and back on Tuesday and at 5 o'clock. I know we keep switching it up on you guys, which can be frustrating, but lives of college students, we're busy, so... But make sure you're updating your reminders for Tuesdays at 5, only on 89.5 WJMU The Quad. We also have a pretty big announcement tonight. BingeWorthy Radio is now a video podcast. As we speak, we have 2 cameras set up in our studio recording our show. So if you miss a Tuesday or prefer a more visual show, you can head to YouTube to watch BingeWorthy Radio.
Yeah, so in our video podcast, you'll be able to see the trailers we play, pictures of actors, stills from the titles we pick, and much more. New videos will be dropped every Monday night, so go ahead and check that out.
Alright, so for any new listeners, BingeWorthy Radio is the place to find your new binge-worthy obsession on all your favorite streaming services. We're your hosts, Faith
and Nico.
Here on BingeWorthy Radio, we will be discussing shows and movies that you can stream on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and HBO Max. We also have a segment led by Nico called Behind the Streams.
Yeah, so in Behind the Streams, I'll be diving deeper into the films we talk about to give you guys an idea of what to expect when you watch them, and I'll let you know what to look for when you watch, and even some inside scoops on how they were made. And we hope that after you listen to this segment, you can become the film nerds that we are. Ooh. A lot of the time, we enjoy binging these films and shows just to pass the time, but we're here to give you guys a chance to really appreciate the art that is filmmaking.
During these weird times, we have all been spending a lot of time at home, which means a lot of binge watching.
Mm-hmm.
It can be hard to choose what to watch when we have an overwhelming amount of choices. I know many people, myself included, revert to watching the same shows and movies over and over. Our show is to help listeners be aware of what is new, what is worth watching, and what hidden gems can be found on our favorite streaming services. It can be hard to find something you will like when all you know about the show or the film is the 3-sentence summary Netflix gives. BingeWorthy Radio is here to watch and review, so you no longer have to spend 10 minutes looking for something to watch, only to end up watching The Office. No hate to The Office, though.
No, none at all.
Without further ado, let's get into this week's picks for BingeWorthy Radio, only on WJMU 89.5 The Quad. Alright, this is so weird having, watching us.
I know.
I know you guys who are listening can't see, but we have our camera right up in front of us, and then we have a camera off to our right too, but it's interesting to be able to see ourselves. It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I like it. It's going to turn out cool.
But before we kind of get into our film for tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Oscar nominations.
Oscar season, baby.
Yeah, that's why we love spring semester. So the Oscar nominations came out last week, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack in that, including 2 movies that we actually talked about last semester have gotten quite a couple nominations, starting with Power of the Dog that we talked about last semester. If you guys can, go back into your memory and recall that show, we had a little bit of an argument about this film.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Nico didn't really like it all that much.
I still stand by it.
He liked the visual aspects of it. It was a very pretty film.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I was more pro...
Well, it's up for Best Picture, isn't it?
It is,
so
yeah.
It's basically up for Prettiest Film.
Yeah. They should just rename that category Prettiest Film.
We'll hold our own Oscars.
Yeah, right?
Prettiest Film.
But I was pro Power of the Dog. I liked the storyline and everything.
I wasn't against it.
I don't know. Too bad we didn't record that.
Yeah, we should.
That show. We could have gone back and listened to it. I could have just... Right now, I could be over the weekend, I could be editing right now, and I could insert a little clip of you talking about how you disliked it. Brian, go for it.
I thought it was too slow. I wasn't a big fan. I was waiting for something to happen the entire movie, and then when something finally did happen, it wasn't what I was expecting, but I don't know, it was too late at that point, I felt like.
I feel like, isn't it a good movie if what happens isn't what you expected?
Yeah, but what I didn't expect was lamer than what I thought was gonna happen. More lame.
Well, it's too
Now
bad
that we have a
didn't
video
record it.
podcast, but we didn't record it.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll blackmail you some other time this
You have
semester.
no proof, though, so it's not going to work.
But anyways, Power of the Dog is coming in with 12 nominations. It is leading all the other films
As it should.
in the Oscar categories. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. But it is the front runner for Best Picture currently. And Best Director. Jane Campion. Let's go. Can you imagine if we, like, women win back-to-back Best Directors at the Oscars? I would sing praises all day, every day, because that would just be amazing. You know how I am with my feminism in film.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be really cool. But yeah, Power of the Dog is currently the leader of those categories, and it's nominated for a bunch of other stuff as well.
Yeah.
But it is definitely the front runner for Best Picture and Best Director. So fingers crossed. I think that's my favorite so far.
Mm-hmm.
But and then we also talked about Dune. It came in. It's also nominated for Best Picture and a couple other smaller awards. But right now we're gonna talk more about, the next couple of weeks we'll talk about some films, but the week before Oscars, so Oscars are on March 27th, that week before here on BingeWorthy Radio, we're gonna do a bracket. We're gonna do like a March Madness.
Oh my goodness.
For movies.
It's perfect. Maybe we can post a bracket on our Instagram and you guys can follow along.
Yeah.
And make a bracket.
You guys can
and
follow
see how
along,
well
make
you
a
do.
bracket, and see if anyone beats either of us. But
That's
there's
nice.
a lot of movies we still have to watch.
Yep.
But we'll definitely, we'll watch as the weeks progress, and probably talk more about some here on BingeWorthy Radio. So
Yeah, hopefully we
don't
can
wanna
watch most of them, though, because there was a lot that aren't being streamed right now.
yeah, there's quite a couple. But it's kind of nice. We got Power of the Dog and Dune out of the way.
Yep.
We also watched Don't Look Up. That was
Mhm.
nominated, but that was kind of over winter break. So I would say most people have probably seen that by now. So we probably won't backtrack to that. But there's a couple other ones that we are going to try and watch as well. And maybe as the weeks progress, some of the other films will come on to streaming services and we can talk about them.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, so just keep that in mind. Maybe watch some more Oscar-nominated films so that you can do a better job of filling out your brackets. Because even though there's a decent amount of films in Best Picture, there's still a lot of other films that get nominated as well.
Right.
That we don't necessarily really focus on. But actually, we are starting this week off with an Oscar-nominated film, which is kind of cool, and it's a good one.
Yeah, it's very good.
So this film is nominated for Best Picture, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, and Best Production Design,
Yeah, fair.
which makes total sense
Yeah.
once you watch it. It's a beautiful film, great story, and very entertaining. I know Oscar films can sometimes be very, very artsy in a way that's like, you really only like it if
in a way
you're
that's
really...
Power of the Dog.
in a way that's Power of the Dog, yeah. Where you have to be kind of really into film in order to appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I liked this film because not only was it a really great film overall, just in, like film lovers standards, but also I think it was an entertaining film to watch.
Yeah.
I think people who maybe aren't as into film as we are would still enjoy it and still like it.
I agree.
So I feel like it's a good one to start off. So the film is called Nightmare Alley, and it is now streaming on HBO Max.
Yes.
So let me give you guys a little synopsis. Did I say that word?
Synopsis?
Synopsis.
I think you put the P before the N.
Synopsis.
There it is.
There we go. Sorry
It's our
about that.
first week back. It's allowed.
I have trouble with some words. It's words with P's. Hippopotamus. All right. Here's a little summary. I'm changing my words.
Yeah, there you go. There's no P in that one.
So, in 1940s New York, down on his luck, Stanton Carlyle endears himself to a clairvoyant and her mentalist husband at a traveling carnival. Using newly acquired knowledge, Carlyle crafts a golden ticket to success by swindling the elite and wealthy. Hoping for a big score, he soon hatches a scheme to con a dangerous tycoon with help from a mysterious psychiatrist who might be his most formidable opponent yet. Words with peas.
Yeah, you're just on a roll.
So I know that was a lot, but basically, it is about Stan Carlyle, who starts working at a carnival, and basically he learns some tricks from a former mentalist. A mentalist is someone who supposedly talks to the dead, kind of like a medium, basically.
Yeah, and they supposedly read your mind.
Yeah, read your mind, can sense things without seeing them.
Yeah.
But in his case, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
He learns this whole system basically from a former mentalist, and then uses this kind of gag to go out and swindle people and make money off of them. And in that process, he meets a psychiatrist who has treated a lot of the bigger players in the wealthier people in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of gets dirt on them from her, and then poses as it's someone came to him, or he sensed it, he read their mind. So it's basically, he's just a con man. So it's about his climb to success and then his dwindle from there. So with that being said, let's listen to the trailer, and if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, we're gonna pull up the trailer right now. You guys can watch it.
Oh, look at that.
I know.
Alright, here's the trailer.
I will ask you simple questions. You will answer in short sentences only what you believe to be absolute truth.
Absolute truth. I can do that.
Now, brief as you can, what is your name?
Stanton Carlyle.
Are you a true medium?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Carlyle,
Doctor, how about that?
please lay down.
Can you read minds?
Yes, I can. Under the right circumstances.
Keep your answers brief.
What do I want?
To be found out, same as everybody else.
Are you in contact with the beyond?
Well, we've had our share of snake charmers in the past. We deal with them.
You don't fool people, Stan. They fool themselves.
I've given you a fortune. It's time that you delivered.
When does it end? I want to know.
If you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
Alright, so that was the trailer, and a very, very cool one at that. So hopefully you liked it here if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening, then definitely go check it out and watch it, because it'll make you want to watch the film even more.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of getting into the behind the scenes of the film, it is directed by legendary filmmaker Guillermo Del Toro, one of my favorite directors, I think, of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He's known for Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, Hellboy, which is my favorite movie of his, Crimson Peak, and Pacific Rim. I just found that out today.
I did not know
Kind
that.
of weird.
Yeah.
I can kind of see it now that I think back on that movie.
Yeah.
But
it's just a lot in one movie for him, I feel like.
Yeah. It's definitely not. It's the outlier kind of his films, but those are what he's known for, and he's actually directing a animated Pinocchio film
Oh.
coming out. Yeah.
Huh.
So that'll be cool. I've seen a little bit of like a trailer for it, and it looks really interesting.
Yeah.
But he has a very impressive list of films he's worked on other than just directing. He does a lot of writing, screenplay, all of that. He is definitely up there with like Steven Spielberg, well-known Spanish actors. So that's really cool because he can kind of do like, he has like the best of both worlds. He can do international film, and then he can do, you know, films here for the United States in English. But I feel like his Pan's Labyrinth in Spanish is better than I think it would be in English. It's a really good film.
A lot of foreign movies are like that. Like you don't get the same impression when watching it, either when it's dubbed or when it's done in English.
Yeah, well, that's why we say don't watch films dubbed in English. You always have to do subtitles at least, because a film can, it makes it basically. But he's had a lot of success with the Oscars actually. So Pan's Labyrinth, which I just mentioned, was nominated a couple times. He won Best Director and Best Picture for The Shape of Water back in 2018.
That's right.
Which is it's an interesting movie as well.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
It's
kind of scared
weird.
me, honestly.
It's weird for sure, but like it's very Guillermo Del Toro.
Yeah.
That's how I like have to describe it.
There's no other way.
Yeah, but I don't know if you would like the storyline, but you would like the film, the visual aspect of it. But I mean, he's such a great cinematographer, and I think that's why.
Right.
He actually, what's kind of cool about him is he reuses a lot of actors in his films. So if you see an actor in one film, most likely you will see them in another film his. So for Nightmare Alley, we see Ron Perlman as a smaller, more minor character, but he is Hellboy. He is the lead character in Hellboy. But so there's a couple other actors that he reuses like that, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like when you kind of have you have people that will do a good job.
Yeah.
And it's like it's never overdone either. Like I never feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing another movie of Guillermo Del Toro.
Yeah, he changes it up depending on they're not the main character in every.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ron Perlman was a very minor character in this film, but he did a good job of that small,
Right. Whereas Tarantino puts literally everyone in the same spot.
Yeah, exactly.
They do a great job.
Yeah, he does a great job of that too. But I love his work, and he's well known for his fantasy and horror elements. So most of his films have some form of a fantasy genre. So for Pan's Labyrinth, there's a lot of he's known for using like monsters, I guess.
Yep.
So Pan's Labyrinth, there's the girl in the film, the main girl has to go through a series of tasks, and each one you're presented with like a different kind of monster, and it's all, most of it, or at least from what I know from his past films, like Pan's Labyrinth wasn't CGI.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His like most iconic character like that is I don't know exactly his name, but I think it's the Pale Man, where he has the eyes in the palms of his hands, and he sees by putting his hands up like that. But yeah, that was all like costume design.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
really
crazy.
Cool. I think since then he's gone more into a little bit of CGI, especially because I know The Shape of Water is.
Yeah.
It also includes he's not a monster, but just that like fantasy aspect of mythical creatures, basically.
Right.
And it actually, Nightmare Alley, it's definitely fantasy in a way, but it's a little more realistic.
Yeah.
This is one of his more realistic films. But that also, he loves to include horror elements as well. A lot of his films, I wouldn't say they're horror movies, but they include, you know, scenes where you're like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were talking about this last night.
Yeah, even with a film that's not horror necessarily, he still finds ways to kind of make you close your eyes.
Yeah. It's always just, like, a couple scenes out of the film that it's just a little bit of gore that's like, ooh, I didn't like that. Not that, like, you didn't like it because, like
it was
a part
bad.
of the film. Yeah. Just more like, ooh.
Gruesome.
Gruesome.
Kind of get shivers.
I like that he adds that into his movies because I think it makes them better.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And it gives it that, you know...
It makes you feel something.
It does make you feel something.
Whether you feel gross or...
or you're like, ooh, that was cool. Which, I mean, if you're like that... People. You might want to seek help, but... but I really like that, like, combination of... Because usually when you think of fantasy, you don't really think of horror.
Right.
Fantasy's like fairies and you know, mythical creatures,
and
but
Peter Pan.
And Peter Pan, yeah. But he has like a darker take on fantasy.
Yeah, he does.
Which is really cool. You don't really see that. But that's really what he's known for, and he does such a good job of it too.
Yeah.
So the cast for this film is absolutely stacked. I'll just say that. I don't think I've seen one of his films that have been this stacked before.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, I mean, he uses a lot of really great actors in all of his films, but this one was almost like a blockbuster actor-wise.
Yeah. It just kept coming. Like, they were just introducing character after character. I was like, oh.
You're like, oh, I know that person.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that person, too. So, as our leading man, Stan Carlisle, we have Bradley Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I need to talk about what films he's been in, because if
he's
you
Bradley
don't
Cooper.
know who Bradley Cooper is, I think you might live under a rock.
And we're not talking to you.
Yeah, and we're not talking to you. And you might also want to seek help.
But we're not your therapist.
But he does a really, really good job in this film.
Yeah, he killed it.
As someone who's known to be kind of like he's like a pretty boy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, you know, kind of like a Ryan Gosling type actor like that. But he does a really good job. Especially the last scene of the film is so good. He does a fantastic job.
And it's not his typical role at that point.
No.
Like, he changes it up a lot.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of cool to see him in a dynamic like character like that. Yeah,
he goes through like several character changes in the film.
Yeah.
So it's a very complex character.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite parts of the film, was actually his character arc.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that a little later, but they did a really good job.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he did a great job. You would never, I feel like you would watch the movie and you would never know that he's kind of like...
Yeah, Mr. Pretty Boy.
Mr. Pretty Boy, rom-coms, not, you know, just like those kinds of, like, lighthearted movies.
Yeah. Like, it's not something you would associate with Bradley Cooper.
No, yeah. But he did an awesome job. Yeah. I really liked him. Mm-hmm. Rooney Mara as Molly, so Stan's wife. She's known for the girl with the dragon tattoo and The Social Network. She's more of a under the radar kind of actor. A lot of people know who she is, but she does mostly films that are good films.
Yeah.
She doesn't do a lot of, you know, just like your typical rom-coms, comedies, you know, feel-good kind of films. Mm-hmm. She does, like, really good work. And, I mean, it makes sense. She's actually, I don't know if they're engaged or married, but to Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, both two people who are very, very good actors.
Yeah, talk about a power couple.
Yeah, exactly. But really only do mostly films that are more artistic and very good films.
Yeah.
Then we have Cate Blanchett as Dr. Lilith Ritter. she's another one, kind of like Bradley Cooper, really doesn't need any introduction, but she's known from the Lord of the Rings series. People nowadays probably would recognize her more from Thor Ragnarok in recent years.
Yeah,
she played
I didn't
the
even
villain.
recognize her.
I mean, I guess in the film, in Thor, she does have like that mask on and everything, and I think
she's got horns too.
Her hair's black. Yeah.
Yeah, it threw me off. You told me that while we were watching. I was like, oh, I can see it now.
But yeah, she's another actress that really doesn't need any introduction. She's amazing in everything she does as well. And those are kind of our 3 main characters, but the supporting cast is amazing as well.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
I literally wrote these characters are not even to be considered supporting actors.
Yeah.
Because each of them, they're
a name on their own.
Yeah, they're a name on their own. They're never supporting.
Right.
So like the supporting cast doesn't even feel like a supporting cast.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But so we have Toni Collette, who she is like really great. She is known for like her facial expressions and stuff like that. She was in Hereditary and a bunch of other films, but she's really awesome. Willem Dafoe, of course, everyone knows who Willem Dafoe is. Green Goblin himself.
We're waiting for Spider-Man to swing through.
Yeah. Ron Perlman, who I talked about earlier. Great actor. Richard Jenkins and David Strathairn. I think that's how you pronounce that.
Sure.
But all of those names, if you're someone who watches movies and has been watching movies for a while, you should recognize all those names.
Yeah.
They're very, very big name actors. All once again, all actors who don't really do just like lighthearted type films.
Right.
They do very intense Academy Award winning films.
Right.
So, I mean, literally every small actor in this film is a very well-known and talented actor, which I thought was a really cool, kind of part to the film.
Yeah.
The film is a bit of a roller coaster, I would say. It kind of goes fast, and then it goes slow, and then it picks up again, and then it, kind of levels out. So, it's definitely something you have to watch, and then you have to, like, keep with it. But
I feel like it's not something that you're, like, forcing yourself to stick with.
No, not
like,
at all.
It's very, when it does slow down, you're like waiting for it to pick back up.
Exactly.
It's not like it gets boring.
No, I wouldn't say this film is boring at all. But yeah, it does have like highs and then lows, but I mean, most films kind of, do that as well.
Right.
But, Del Toro does a really good job of taking you in one direction and then completely turning the film around. Even though he does a lot of foreshadowing, which is kind of cool. Like, he twists a lot of things, but then he foreshadows a lot of things, too.
Yeah.
Which makes maybe then the twists even better.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Like, you'll think of, I think specifically with Bradley Cooper's character.
Yeah.
Like, you would think of him one way, and then you finish the movie, and you're like, wow, yeah, I did not think he was that type of person, type of thing.
Yeah. And even his kind of demise is foreshadowed in the film.
Right.
But you don't think it's going to
on
happen
Yeah.
in the way that it does.
True.
It happens completely different than what you think. So he does a good job of foreshadowing, but also in a way that gets you kind of expecting one thing.
Yeah.
And then he goes and does the complete opposite.
Right.
Which was really cool.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of aspects of the film that you don't know if they're necessarily like intentional, which makes the film more complex and interesting, I think. There's one instance that I can think of that we were actually talking about last night that has to do with Bradley Cooper's character and something he does, and we were like, did he do it intentionally? Or was it a mistake?
Yeah.
And it's kind of something you have to form an opinion on your own, which I think is cool. It makes you think. and like be more engaged with the film, because you're constantly like, should I trust this person? Should I not trust this person? Because I don't know if that was supposed to be something that was supposed to happen.
Right.
If he was supposed to do that, or...
And I think that opinion was even harder to make with the main character, because, like, he lies for a living, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it just makes it that much harder.
Yeah, exactly. Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But then the best part of the film is that it comes completely full circle.
Yeah.
Which, by the end of it, you're like, dang.
Mm-hmm.
It's expected but not expected at the same time. But just the way he starts somewhere, and, you know, he comes back exactly to where he was, but almost worse.
Yeah.
Afterwards. But it's a complete full circle, which not a lot of films, you know, do that. They have a beginning, middle, and then, you know, like a resolution. But this film kind of circles back to the beginning, which was really cool. The film is really just about this main character's, like, his character arc and his development and his, you know, going from success to nothing, from nothing to success to back to nothing. Not to, you know, spoil it too much, but it was a really, really cool way to end the film and to, you know, come back to it. But with that, should we go behind the streams?
We definitely should.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so to start off, this film was actually an adaptation of a book, and there's actually a movie adaptation of this that was made in 1974, but Guillermo made a point to say that it is not a re-adaptation of the film, but an adaptation of the book itself. So he's not redoing the movie that was already made. He's redoing the book in his own way.
His version of the book.
Yeah. And he talks about it a little bit, saying that he kind of thought that they ended up doing what he thought was more of a character study. So I haven't seen the first one. I want to go see it now. But he talks about, I'm assuming, kind of going more in depth with Carlisle and his character.
Okay, I could see that. There are definitely things that are brought up in the film about Carlisle that they're mentioned and talked about a little bit, but not completely. There's a lot to do with Carlisle and his relationship to his father that is talked about and explored, and I think they did a good job of giving us just enough to understand his, you know, mentality and where he was coming from, but then not enough where it was just like,
this is who he is.
Yeah,
like, you still had to kind of figure out his path in life and what his goals were and stuff like that. So it leaves some room for interpretation before he kind of tells you what's going on. Yeah. Which is the perfect way to go about it. But it was filmed mainly in Toronto, Canada. They started off there, and then I believe later in the film they moved to Buffalo, New York. I'm not sure which scenes are which, but they all kind of blended together, honestly.
I feel like probably the beginning is more Canada.
Yeah, and then the middle.
Yeah, the beginning sequence. This film, it's very much like you have a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an end.
Yeah,
It's like almost like 3 versions.
Yeah, sections. Almost.
Sections of Carlisle's life.
Yeah, definitely.
But within like a couple years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the beginning is more him at like the carnival, which I feel like you need a wide open space for that. Yep. So I could see that being more in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the middle is, I think it's actually in New York. It's supposed to be in New York. So
I could see that
would
too.
Make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where they were filmed. It was about a $60 million production budget.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, the middle section of the film was all like these nice buildings, and then even the circus, like you have to purchase a circus. Like you can't just kind of throw it together.
Plus the film takes place in like the late 1930s, early 1940s.
Yeah.
So your costume design has to be, nothing that we wear today.
Yeah.
The set design is completely
cars,
different. The cars,
buildings,
the building. Yeah, exactly.
Everything about
Everything's
it has to
different.
be from the past.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't actually make as much in ticket sales as they originally planned.
That also doesn't surprise me, though.
But one of the main reasons was because the target audience for this was the older generation. But with COVID,
Older generation.
a lot of the older generation wasn't going to the movie theaters.
I'm surprised that the target audience was the old.
I mean, it's not for kids.
Yeah, I guess. When I think of older, I think of I don't know, older.
We're kind of old now.
I guess. Yeah, we are kind of old.
But yeah, I mean, just the older generation. So people are streaming stuff now.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody wants to go out anymore.
Yeah.
Especially to the movie theater. So I think it made 23 in box office tickets the first week. 23 million. So, I mean, 23 million. I'll take 23 million.
Yeah.
But when you spend 60 million on the production, it kind of cancels out. But it seemed like they did well through streaming, and I think also internationally they did pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Guillermo Del Toro is an international, well-known director.
Mm-hmm. And kind of a little fun fact, there was actually a black and white version that they played in theaters for a limited amount of time. I think it was until late January. But it was to give it that more film noir feel. And it was titled Nightmare Alley, but it was called Vision in Darkness and Light. So I'm kind of curious if they changed anything other than the colors being black and white, if they changed the soundtrack, because, I mean, film noir has a very specific look to it, but it also goes along with how the movie's made, how, the soundtrack is, and I think something that's also difficult is, we talked about, Mank last semester?
Yeah.
Or 2 semesters ago or something, and they had to film that specifically for black and white, so I'm kind of curious to see how a film that was filmed for color looks in black and white. And I'd want to know if that was the previous plan, or if it was they turned off the saturation, was oh, this looks cool, let's make another one, maybe we can make some more money, win back our 60 million.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to see this film in, I think it'd look cool in black and white.
It would, but the colors are beautiful.
Guillermo Del Toro is known for his cinematography, which cinematography is the colors and the look of the film.
It's not necessarily the colors, though. You don't
think so?
No, it's lens choices,
lighting,
it's lighting, it's location, it's the frame. That. There's a scene where he's walking out over an open field, and the big carnival wheel is behind him, and that would look beautiful without color.
Yeah.
So I think the film in general looks beautiful, so I'm sure it looks great in black and white. But I do think the color adds a lot to it.
It's just so pretty.
It is. It's
all the
very
colors
pretty.
Are so cool.
Yeah.
Even just if you watch the first 2 minutes of the film, you're gonna be like, wow.
Yeah.
This is really cool. The first couple scenes are some of the best scenes out of the, just visually.
Yeah. Some
of the best scenes out of the whole film.
Smart.
Yeah.
People don't get bored right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can go off of the colors. Colors were amazing. A lot of it was a very blue and orange hue. It was orange highlights and blue shadows, which is very in right now. I feel like everybody's doing the teal and orange look, so the blue and orange goes well together. But then there's also some scenes where I noticed that the blue is a little bit more green.
Green, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think in the middle, more when they are, at one point they are kind of living in a hotel.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of hotel, those bedroom scenes are very green.
And he actually, from my opinion, I didn't do any research on this, but it seemed like he made the transition from first section to middle section with the color, because in the beginning it's very blue and orange, it's very pretty, and then as he starts making this path towards this new section of his life, you start to see the blues become more green and the oranges lose their color a little bit, and it starts to become more eerie feeling, and then you get punched into this big New York, and it's all gold and dark and awesome.
I wonder if the transition from blue into green is to, like, kind of symbolize his obsession with money.
Ooh.
Whoa, film analysis.
BingeWorthyRadio said it first. You heard it here. But yeah, the colors are absolutely amazing. So if you don't watch it for anything else, you can watch it for the colors.
I feel like the colors do also support kind of what we were saying with how the film is, like, separated into 3 sections. You can tell what colors are from the beginning, what colors are from the middle, and what colors are from the end.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'd be interested to see on Instagram, and I'm sure all over the place, they take color palettes from films, which is kind of cool. So that'd be kind of cool to take a section from each, or an image from each section, and kind of lay out those color palettes to see how they differ.
True.
So, hey, maybe that'll be for the YouTube version.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I've made color palettes for the films we've talked about before.
All right, there we go. It might happen. I'm not working on this, though, so you got it.
Okay.
It's not for my capstone. I already did that. But yeah, the next part I want to talk about is the character arc of Carlisle. I think it is honestly what made the film, in my opinion. It was absolutely ingenious. In the beginning of the film, he's almost like mute. I was kind of concerned that Bradley Cooper wasn't going to talk. Because, like, the first 4 scenes, like, he didn't say a word. He said, like, 2 things.
That's very true.
And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? You used Bradley Cooper and he's not going to say a word? And then as the colors begin to change...
To speak.
Oh, yeah. I'll just shut up then. But as the colors begin to change and he starts going to this new section of his life, he starts talking more and more. And then that's where he gets his confidence. And actually, I think there's a big turning point of his character. There's a scene where the cops come and try and bust the circus.
Yeah.
And he steps up, this newcomer, and saves the whole circus. And he basically does what he does for the rest of the film. Yeah. And at that moment, he realizes that he has that power, and then he takes it from there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most he talked up until that moment. Yeah. And then from then on, he becomes our main focus of the film. Like, before, it was a lot about the circus. He came along, and we were following him, but we didn't have any scenes where it was just him. Yeah. And then, after that moment, it became our main focus to see where Carlisle's journey takes us.
Yeah, he completely changed as a character in that moment.
Yeah. But something about the movie also is, while we are watching this story of his current life, we do get these flashbacks of this moment in his past life, but it keeps popping up, the same scene over and over, and it doesn't feel repetitive somehow.
No.
It's perfectly placed, and you become more confused and curious as the film goes on, and then finally you get the resolution that you've been waiting for, and everything makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's why it doesn't feel repetitive, is because each time we see that scene, we get, like, a different aspect of it, which then causes us to be like, what is happening in this scene exactly?
Yeah.
But those cut scenes to the flashbacks are, I think, my favorite scenes.
It makes me want to film Fire in Reverse.
Yeah, Fire in Reverse. Yeah. But there's a couple. All those scenes kind of have to deal with fire, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's so pretty.
It's very beautiful.
But yeah, it's not repetitive at all. It's almost. It gives you more information every time.
Yeah,
even though it's just a simple scene.
Yeah.
It's fire in a house.
Yeah. It's awesome. And that shot is awesome, too. And he does the same thing. He walks away from that house in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Well, that's like in the first 2 minutes of the film, like we were talking about. But I think those little flashback films give us what we need to understand him, and that way Guillermo Del Toro didn't have to do, like, that more in-depth character stuff like the other film did more of.
And it also allows us to kind of figure out the character on our own, which I think was a huge part of the movie.
Yeah.
Because, like, he knew who he was, but we were almost being hidden from his true story.
Mm-hmm. We were deceived by him.
Yeah, exactly. Just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is the perfect way of going about it, because instead of having us be in his life completely, we're watching his life, but from the outside almost.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of movies, they follow the main character and you hear this inner dialogue, you know everything that's going on, but you're not an outsider. A lot of the times the supporting actors are the outsiders.
Yeah.
Whereas we were one of those supporting actors.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no big deal. We were featured in Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, definitely.
And you will be too.
What?
I said, and you will be too.
Yeah, true. This whole film is basically about Bradley Cooper just mind tricking us the whole time.
Yeah. He's good at it.
He is. He is very good at it.
Yeah. So another thing, the story was actually written backwards. They knew how they wanted the film to end, and they went from there.
Interesting.
I like that. That's how my mind works.
I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah. Because of the way the movie looks, it makes a lot of sense. And the way it feels, like they know how they want it to end, so they know what they don't want to spoil. So going back from there, they take off details every couple scenes or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to start writing things like that.
Starting
from the back.
You should just watch it backwards.
I don't know. Then the fire would be going forwards.
Oh.
That doesn't look as cool.
That doesn't look as cool.
Alright, scratch that line. But yeah, let's see, what else? I have a couple quotes. I already talked about the character study, but Del Toro said that he's always depended on the whimsy of strange monsters, kind of how you mentioned before, and like supernatural creatures and stuff. But he said for this one, he had to abandon the whimsy and try to preserve the beauty, and he said it was a very new exercise to him.
I feel like in this film, because he does rely on monsters a lot, I feel like this film was kind of his experiment in making the humans the monsters, but in a way that he can't use makeup and,
right. Just humans, like, as we are.
Yeah, as we are, and our,
and our flaws.
Our natures, yeah, exactly.
So, going off of that, I didn't really think about this, but the way that we see the circus is something that I've never seen before. I've never seen a circus looked at from the inside out. A lot of the times when we see a circus, we see a character going through it, enjoying the circus, we see cotton candy, we see all these happy moments of their childhood or whatever, but this is taking the circus from the inside, looking at it for what it really is.
Yeah, just, it's a
mess,
none of it's real. It's just, it's all fake.
Yeah, and I don't know, I've never seen a circus looked at from that point of view, which I thought was kind of cool.
I've never thought about that before. Usually, you see circuses as, like, mystical and, like,
happy,
wonder of the world.
Yeah, right.
Whereas you see it from kind of like behind the scenes almost, where it's, the people coming up with how they lie to people and how they trick people.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, which, I mean, it makes sense because it sets up for the rest of the film, because the whole film is about Bradley Cooper mind tricking everyone.
Yeah. And I think Willem Dafoe's Willem
I always thought it was Willem Dafoe until, like, not that long ago.
Maybe he just changed it when he became an actor. He's like, this doesn't sound actory enough.
Willem.
Take out the I.
But yeah, I always thought it was William too, until, like, very recently.
Yeah.
Which makes, me feel very embarrassed, but it's fine.
Good. But his character is, I think, the first look at the inside of the circus that I was kind of like, ooh, like that doesn't look too good.
Yeah.
While everybody, like all the audience of the circus is like applauding and giving out money and watching the show, and you're kind of seeing it for what it really is, and you're like, oh wow, this is how it's gonna be. And then from then on, it goes into different scenes about how the different acts work, and we just kind of follow him as he goes through the circus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that point of view, because, and I think Del Toro was the perfect one to do it, because he's very unsettling with his movies, I would say, and that's exactly what it was.
Well,
it was taking it was taking a fantasy and flipping it on his head.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what he does. He
Yeah.
takes, he has those fantasy aspects, but he makes it's a horror fantasy.
Yeah.
It's unsettling. I wouldn't say, when you think of horror films, you think of like jump scares and like blood all over the place. But he does it in a very like tasteful way.
Yeah.
That's more like uncomfortable and like creepy and more like just unsettling than like a horror film that's just like jump scare. Horror basically.
Yeah.
He does such a good job of taking something like a circus and being able to make it
creepy,
and scary.
Which
I mean, like,
and
like
he didn't even put any clowns.
He didn't. You're right. That's talent.
Yeah, making a circus creepy without clowns.
Yeah.
That's
Instead,
pretty good.
he did it with jars of.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Unborn animals.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch the film, you'll know what we're talking about. Kind of weird. There's a couple things where you're like, what? That's really weird.
It's the circus. Anything
goes.
It's
the circus. Willem Dafoe's running a circus. Who would have thought? Honestly, he's
Makes
the perfect
sense.
person to do it.
Yeah, he is. He's got the face for it.
Yeah, he really does.
He's got a mustache in this one too.
Yeah.
He rocks it though. I'm not gonna lie.
He's kind of funny too.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I guess in Spider-Man he's kind of, but like he's the villain at that point, so you're kind of like dismissing it like as like a Joker type of character where you're like, oh, he's funny, but like, why would he say that?
Yeah, I feel like he's more funny like now that I'm like looking back on it and like thinking about the movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a weird dude.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a very weird type of character.
But I mean, he does it.
Yeah, he killed it.
Super well.
Yeah.
So.
All right, here we are. It's couch rating time. Ooh, nice. That was good.
You.
All right, give us your couches.
Ooh. I would probably give this 8 couches. 8 out of 10 couches.
Okay.
I think the only thing that I wouldn't put it up higher is just because it's a lot in one movie. Like, I don't know, there are times it's not a boring movie, but there are times where it kind of it slows down, and it's just it's a lot for a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
It's just a like I don't even know how to describe it. It's a really good movie, but I don't know, there's just a little something, as I think it's as someone who is a big Guillermo Del Toro fan and who has seen most of his other films, and just knowing the quality of those, like the look visually of all of his films are amazing. I wouldn't say that this Nightmare Alley is any worse than any of his other films, but just being someone who has seen his other films a lot, I've seen a lot of his films, and multiple times too. I think just his other films are a little bit more engaging, and I think this film has a really good storyline, but his other films, I feel like they make you feel a little bit more. They, pull you in.
I can see that.
A little bit more.
Yeah, on this one, we're very much, like, outsiders.
Yeah. And plus, like, the main character is a villain, too. Like, he's not a good guy. Right. So, then it's also hard to, like, I mean, not necessarily relate, but, like, you don't like him.
Yeah.
Which,
But you don't have a choice to not follow him.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, like, his Hellboy film, I love Ron Perlman's character. He's so funny, and he's just so good as Hellboy. And it's just, like, such a cool film. And I don't know, it makes me like to, watch, because there's a second one, too. It's just like a film that I could watch over and over again. And same with Pan's Labyrinth, because I've actually seen that movie like probably about 6 times now, in Spanish, some in Spanish, some in English. But I don't know. I think there's just something about his other films that I just really like that makes me not dislike this film, but just rate it a little bit lower, because on my Guillermo Del Toro, like, rating scale, this is probably one of, like, his lower films, not in quality or anything. It's just because his other films are just so dang good.
Yeah.
So good.
That's fair.
But overall, I feel like if I had seen this movie by itself, I would have loved it.
Yeah.
Even more.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks. All right.
You?
Let's see. I'd say 8.5, but, like, the half has, like, seat warmers and stuff on it,
Seat warmers?
Yeah, I don't know. They could be kind of cool.
That's interesting.
A couch with seat warmers. What else could you want in life?
I guess. Like I don't know, like a massage chair, kind of, but, like, the couch version?
Yeah.
It's just heaters?
But, yeah,
I don't
sure.
know, but you're inside, though.
So? Your butt can get cold.
That's a new one.
I had to come up with something.
We've talked about futons. We've talked about
beanbags.
We've talked about all different types of things you can sit on. But I guess we haven't talked about what the things that you sit on can do for you.
All right, we're done. 8.5 with seat warmers. I think because I gave it the half with seat warmers because of the color. And after talking about it, I really enjoyed the movie. And even though our main character wasn't necessarily a hero, it was the perfect main character to follow. And the character arc was one of my favorites that I've seen in a while.
I
like,
was
it's
close
hard.
To 8.5 too.
Yeah, well, you didn't, so. And mine has seat warmers.
It's also because you haven't seen his other movies.
Yeah, well, I still rated 8.5.
I think it's 8.5 worthy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I think because of the color, because of the character arc, and because of the look of the film, but also the time frame. Like, I felt like we didn't know where we were in his life, but we knew that we were going through it very fast. Mm-hmm. And they did a good job at doing that.
Yeah. I can see that.
And that's a very hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
But his character, like, changes so much that we can kind of see that time has passed.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to talk about it. It is hard to do. It is hard to do.
Yeah, it's very hard.
He does a complete. I mean.
And the ending is absolutely beautiful. The way it just comes around is amazing. So maybe 8.75.
Yeah.
No seat warmers.
Overall, it's a great film.
Yeah, fantastic.
I would recommend this to anybody.
Yes. And it's a good film to get into if you want to start getting into the more Oscar artsy type movies.
Yeah, that's why I thought this was such a good pick for today, is because it's entertaining, but it's not like a blockbuster.
Yeah.
But it's also a very artistic film and has really, great artistic aspects of it, but it's also not like Nomadland that we watched last semester or last year, that was like, you had to appreciate it for the cinematic value.
Right. This has story elements. This has character elements. This has colors. It has everything you can ask for.
It really does have everything.
Checks all of the boxes.
And I mean, if you're someone who also wants to get more into kind of like that film aspect, Guillermo Del Toro's movies are definitely the place to do it. His films are all like that. They all have like a really great storyline. They're very entertaining, very beautifully shot, the colors, everything. But it's not, it's not too indie type.
Right. It's not, you're staring at a beautiful landscape for a minute straight and that's one scene.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah.
It's not Power of the Dog.
Whatever. Power of the Dog is gonna win so many Oscars, and I'm gonna be right about all of them, and you're gonna eat your words.
Alright, we'll see. We'll see when brackets come out.
Okay, yeah. Just wait. I'm gonna beat you 100%, but keep talking.
I will, gladly. And I'm not gonna be here the week that the Oscars are reviewed.
What? Oh. I thought you meant actually. I was like, where are you going? I'll be doing
I gotta go rig the
stuff.
Oscars to make sure Power of the Dog doesn't win.
Yeah, with what money you got?
Who said I need money? I got this face, remember?
Oh my gosh.
I don't have to say anything. I'm just like Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, yeah. Alright, sign us out.
Alright, so it is now 6 o'clock, which means our time here is up. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion of this film as much as we enjoyed sharing it with you.
If you end up watching any of the titles that we picked today, let us know by putting your thoughts in the comment section of our YouTube video.
Ooh.
And subscribe to our channel for more. I feel so stupid saying that. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel for more binge-worthy content.
Yes. Don't forget to check out our first Binge-Worthy Radio podcast on YouTube this coming Monday.
Yes. Until next time, keep binging, and Binge-Worthy Radio will be back next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, or 5 o'clock. Oh my gosh.
5 o'clock.
Sorry, I keep getting
we're all over the place.
Binge-Worthy Radios mixed up. Until next time, round 2. Yep. Until next time, keep binging, and Binge-Worthy Radio will be back next Tuesday at 5 o'clock, only here on WJMU 89.5 The Quad.
Bye.
See ya.